Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast. It is Saturday morning, 7 of January, 2023. I'm your host, Jon June, and this guy to my left, my co-host, my friend, Greg Penniman, a.k.a. G-Money. Greg, how you doing on this Saturday morning?
Chilling, man. Doing all right. Doing well. Week 18, wrapping all this craziness of the NFL season up. So yeah, looking forward to finally getting these playoff matchups solidified.
Yes, a very important weekend of football ahead of us. Pretty much the final decisions in terms of seeding and playoffs and things like that will be determined. And then in your fantasy leagues, if you're playing in the Week 18 championship, your fantasy league will probably be determined as well. And one of the things I know we didn't talk about, Greg, was what happened to those teams that are playing the Week 18 championship. How did you proceed from Week 17 going into Week 18? That must have been a tough decision, but tough circumstances to try to make a decision on. But got to do what you got to do. No Thursday night game for us to talk about, obviously, but there's some news and some injuries from some of the games that we've already covered. Starting with the Jets and Miami game, we did get confirmation that Skylar Thompson will start for the Miami Dolphins. It will not be Teddy Bridgewater. And then we also got word that Mike White is not going to play this week. Turns out, when we were discussing that game, he was downgraded from a full participant in practice to a limited participant. Turns out that was with concern because he it was originally spoken he had 4 fractures, but now it's like he has 5 broken ribs. So he's not going to play. Doesn't require surgery, but Joe Flacco is going to basically be the sacrificial lamb behind this. What's going to be a not quite what we call an NFL offensive line on Sunday. So start your Miami defense. There should be some sacks. And I think the other injuries to cover, other things to note, come from these games that we haven't yet covered, Greg, unless there's something that I'm missing.
No, I think those are the major ones, impacting, I guess, play and matchups this week. Everyone else, yeah, it's pretty much good to go.
All right, yeah. So and there is some stuff that we're going to discuss in some of these games, like the Arizona game, for example, and things like that. So, let's just jump right into it, man. Starting with this first matchup here. Pulled up the wrong set of notes, but we got this first matchup, divisional matchup, NFC East matchup between the 9-6-1 New York Giants and the 13-3 Philadelphia Eagles. This game has a 42.5 point total, where the Philadelphia Eagles are 14-point home favorites in this one. Now, there is a chance of rain. When you look at that line, understand that the Giants' key starters are not expected to play in this one, and not expected if they play at all, they're not expected to play for long. For Philadelphia, we talked about the motivation that they need to win this game a couple of days ago when we were on here on Thursday. They have a shot here. They basically win, and they are the 1 seed. They have home field advantage. They secure the bye. All that good stuff. And so, Miles Sanders, he's limited. Jalen Hurts, he's trending in the right direction. So it looks like the Eagles are finally going to get their star quarterback back. So for me, I'm going to go with the under here. I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles to cover the 14. I will take the Philadelphia Eagles to win. I think, obviously if Daniel Jones doesn't play, Saquon Barkley doesn't play, those are really the Giants that I'm interested in. I'm not going to be interested in Giants pass catchers without Daniel Jones. Not because I don't think Tyrod Taylor, who's the backup, is capable or incapable. I just don't know which receivers the Giants think are important. I would think all of them because they don't really have
Yeah.
many. So Tyrod is an interesting option in super deep leagues or really deep super flex leagues, but I'm not really gonna go there unless I'm desperate. And then Breida, he's an option I think if Saquon sits this game. Um, but again, it could be risky in this matchup here. So maybe you're best just staying away from the Giants altogether, unless you absolutely need to. But I'm in on the Eagles pieces 100%. Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. I think they're all top two, top three options at their respective positions. Yes, that means I have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith both inside my top three for the week. Dallas Goedert, a clear tight end one option. Miles Sanders, he's the tricky one considering his recent production and the injury. With the knee injury this week. So I'm curious, do they rest him? Do they play Kenneth Gainwell? So I think you could go look for other options as opposed to leaning on Miles Sanders this week, just because the production hasn't really been there where it was at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take the Giants to cover, but the Eagles to win. Pretty much with you on the Giants side. I don't think there's really anyone you should be rushing to go get or target to play in this game. It's just too many unknowns. The Giants are locked into the 6th seed, so they really don't have any motivation to win this game. On the Eagles side, though, for sure, Hurts, Miles Sanders, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, the usual suspects of this Eagles polling offense all year. They should must start. So you got to be in your lineups for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there is the risk, right? Like the Giants aren't playing their starters, so the Eagles can probably get out to an early lead, and their starters end up sitting. But you have to just hope that whatever Eagles pieces you have were the ones that contributed to them potentially getting a large lead and sitting out the rest of the game here. So um, it's a steady balance, but in championship week, you need your studs.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next matchup, man. The 5-11 Los Angeles Rams traveling to Seattle to take on the 8-8 Seattle Seahawks. This game has a 41.5 point total where the Seahawks are 6 point favorites. This game has playoff implications because, like we talked about on Thursday, there are three teams fighting for the 7th seed. Green Bay, who if they win against Detroit, they're in. Then there's Seattle, who if they win and Green Bay loses, then Seattle's in. And then there's Detroit, who need a loss by Seattle, and then they need to win their game against Green Bay on Sunday night. So we could realistically get word that Detroit is eliminated prior to their game because of what happens in this game. So uh, again, definite playoff implications here in terms of the weather. There's some possible thunderstorms. In terms of injuries, there's a few questionable for the Rams. For Seattle, there's a bunch of guys questionable, from Kenneth Walker to Tyler Lockett to Travis Homer to DJ Dallas to Noah Fant. Some of these guys didn't practice on Thursday. I don't know if that was more like a day off type situation because it was just so many of them. But definitely something just continue to monitor going into the week. But Greg, where do you lean on this game here?
I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take the Rams to cover. I'll take Seattle to win. Um, on the Seattle side, Geno Smith still I think in a borderline QB1 range. The Rams secondary has been kind of weak, so there'll be opportunities for him. Kenneth Walker, RB2. And as far as receivers, DK Metcalf is in a great spot here. He's a wide receiver one for me. And if Tyler Lockett's able to go, he's a wide receiver too. On the the Rams side, uh, Cam Akers definitely continue to roll. I think you got to continue to play him as a low one RB1 right now. And then as far as the receivers, the only one I'm really maybe intrigued in is Van Jefferson in deep, very deep leagues. Tyler Higbee though is in a good spot here as a tight end one.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under here. I'm gonna take Seattle to cover, Seattle to win. On the Rams side, Cam Akers, I agree. I think he's worked his way into that RB1, low end RB1 territory, high end RB2. Tyler Higbee, he's got a fantastic matchup. Obviously we saw the game that he had 2 weeks ago against Denver. Didn't have quite the game last week, but again, the matchup here is great. The Rams don't have much by way of receiving options, so I think Tyler Higbee could be a tight end one here in this matchup. And then on the Seattle side, love Kenneth Walker here. I think he's a high end RB1. Matchup is good too. And then at wide receiver, Metcalf and Lockett, I think they're both wide receiver twos. Obviously having wide receiver one upside, but yeah, it's just going to be a matter of obviously both these guys are going to be in your lineups, but I don't know if both go off in a game with this kind of game script potentially. But
Yeah, true.
um, let's move on. I mean, obviously you're going to play them both, but let's move on to this next matchup. We've got the 10-6 Los Angeles Chargers traveling to Denver to take on the 4-12 Denver Broncos. This game has a 39.5 point total, where the Denver Broncos are 2.5 point home favorites in this one. In terms of weather, we're okay. In terms of injuries on the Chargers side, they're okay. They're actually getting pieces back, like Derwin James and Joey Bosa. So they're in much better shape or getting that way. And then for Denver, there's a bunch of guys questionable here. Just one caveat on the playoffs, seeding and whatnot. Chargers play at 4:25. The Baltimore Ravens play at 1 o'clock. Uh, Depending on what happens at the Ravens game, if the Ravens lose their matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals, the Chargers not pretty much, they would then lock up the number 5 seed in the AFC. So they either can do that with a win or with a Ravens loss to Cincinnati. So like I said, the Ravens loss to Cincinnati could happen before the Chargers even play. So that could influence if and how much the Chargers starters do play, seeing how they would have already locked up the 5 seed, they'd be playing for nothing. So keep that in mind. In terms of the game here, I am going to take the over. I will take the Chargers to cover. I will take the Chargers to win. For Denver, Judy is a wide receiver 3. I think that's all I can go with on the Denver side. I don't know if I can trust anybody else in championship week against the Chargers. But on the Chargers side, you could find out prior to this game whether they could find out prior to the game, so it's tough to count on Chargers players. Obviously, I think Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, those are guys that must be in your lineup, but I would have a contingency plan ready and available. But again, I do like the Chargers options in this game if they do have to play.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take the Chargers to cover and the Chargers to win as well. Um, on the Denver side, uh, pretty much looking at Jerry Jeudy, definitely low on wide receiver 2 option. Cortland Sutton, more of a wide receiver 3. And Latavius Murray, I think he's in the running back economy. He's good matchup here. He's low on RB2. On the Chargers side, if the pieces are going for sure, you're playing Herbert. You can Eckler, of course, been the RB1 all year, and then the 2 receivers, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. I think are Keenan Allen being a low one wide receiver 1, Mike Williams being a strong wide receiver 2. So hopefully these guys are able to go. Always wanted to see them uh, put up some fantasy points.
Yeah, most definitely. And again, this is why we caution not playing Week 18 because it's madness. It is madness. Let's move on to this next matchup here, and there was some news to come out of this game here. They're the 4-12 Arizona Cardinals traveling to San Fran and take on the 12-4 San Francisco 49ers. This game has a 40.5 point total, where the Niners are 14-point 14-point home favorites in this one. And that's the other thing to take into account is look at these spreads, look at these totals, right? Even pay attention up to kickoff to see what is Vegas thinking, because obviously they have information, right? Like the fact that San Fran is 14-point favorites, that kind of implies to me their starters are playing. The fact that Denver was 2.5-point favorites over the Chargers kind of implies to me that they expect the Chargers to potentially sit their starters at some point. Same thing with the Atlanta Tampa Bay, right? Why is Atlanta 4.5-point favorites against a division champion Tampa Bay team? Well, because Vegas knows Tampa Bay's probably not going to play their starters. So just pay attention to these things, use this information, and react accordingly. But sticking with the San Fran and Arizona game, like I said, 40.5-point total. Niners are 14-point home favorites. There is possible rain in this game. In terms of injuries, we did get a big one on the Arizona side. James Conner is out of this game with a shin and a knee injury. DeAndre Hopkins, he obviously didn't play last week. He is his season is done, so he will not play this week as well. So that's two major cogs in the Arizona offense that will not be playing in this game. They do have a few other guys questionable. On the San Fran side, Brock Purdy, he was limited. Deebo Samuel, he was removed from the injury report. Elijah Mitchell, designated to return from injured reserve. Kyle Shanahan said he expects him to be activated prior to week 18. So that, could throw a wrench in some plans and, for championship week, mainly because Christian McCaffrey, let me see if I can get a practice report for Friday. Christian McCaffrey has not practiced. Did not practice Thursday. Did not practice Friday. The Niners are playing for seeding potentially. If the Eagles lose to the Giants' backups, the Niners win. The Niners would then lock up the 1 seed. So the Niners want to win this game, but it's pretty fair to assume that the Eagles aren't going to lose their game. I think Shanahan still wants to play his starters. Heard an interesting point that Brock Purdy does need to play because Brock Purdy needs as many snaps and as much experience going into the playoffs as he can get. But Christian McCaffrey doesn't need any experience. Christian McCaffrey doesn't need any more touches. Christian McCaffrey just needs to be fresh going into a postseason. So I would expect Christian McCaffrey to not play this game. I would expect some contingent of Jordan Mason, Ty Davis Price, and maybe Elijah Mitchell as they work him back into the fold. That would be my expectation there. But Greg, I'll kick it to you. Where are you on the game and the fantasy analysis?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take Arizona to cover, but I'm gonna take the Niners to win. On Arizona's side, um, there's really nothing I want to touch per se. As far as Trey McBride is probably the only guy I'm looking at. As far as like a tight end, borderline tight end one. Hollywood Brown though as well. I can trust him as a mid-range wide receiver too. On San Fran side, um, Brock Purdy, the streaming tight end he's been all year. That QB 13, 14 range, you're playing him as such. If McCaffrey's able to go, you're playing him as well. And then the receivers, Brandon Ayuk in that wide receiver 2 range, and George Kittle has been on the tear lately. He's a high end tight end 1.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take San Fran to cover. I'm gonna take San Fran to win. On the Arizona side, one of these receivers is gonna be valuable. Greg Dortch, Marquise Brown. Um, they think they're wide receiver threes with some wide receiver 2 upside. Uh, if I had to put money on it, I would say Dortch, mainly because he's the safer PPR option. Trey McBride, I agree though, has tight end 1 upside. The matchup here is halfway decent, and we obviously saw what he was able to do last week. And again, no DeAndre Hopkins. There's targets available, negative game script. So there should be some passes here. And then, yeah, I'm not touching the running backs. Typically, we relish the opportunity to play the backup to James Conner, but right now I don't really know who it is because Keontae Ingram has been splitting some work with Corey Clement. Do they give Ingram run in week 18 because he's the young guy and they're not playing for much? I'm not really sure. So something I would probably stay away from. But on the San Fran side, yeah, if CMC can't go, I guess you have to go to Jordan Mason. I think that would be my immediate best guess. If CMC doesn't go, he's the guy that's been getting the touches behind him. I don't think they're just going to automatically, supplant. Ty Davis Price was active last week, so it's not like he was he wasn't active, and now they're going to activate him and play him. So Jordan Mason was active, Ty Davis Price was active, but it was Ty Davis Price playing in the critical moments of that game when Christian McCaffrey, needed a breather. It was Ty Davis Price that scored the touchdown to bring it to overtime, or to tie the game up. So I would lean Ty Davis, or not Ty Davis Price. I keep saying Ty Davis Price. Jordan Mason. It was Jordan Mason who was doing all those things that I just talked about. So I would lean Jordan Mason. Ayuk is a wide receiver 3. Deebo Samuel, it's tricky to play him in his first game back. Like we talked about, the same things that McCaffrey's facing, those are the same things Deebo Samuel's facing. Like, do you want to play Deebo Samuel in this game? Not really much to play for, but I understand there's probably some want on the Niners side to get him, some game action. So the first time he's playing in the playoffs isn't, 5-6 weeks. So I think he's a wide receiver 3, a high upside wide receiver 3 in his first game back. Kittle is a tight end 1. And yeah, I mean, you could play Brock Purdy for sure. I think there's a few other options though. I think you could look to instead, but definitely can't go wrong with Brock Purdy here. Anything else you want to add to this game, Greg?
Yeah, man. Brock Purdy trying to get that offensive rookie of the year. Yo, he can still do it.
He definitely could still do it. Yeah, I was going to talk about Garrett Wilson, but the Jets have sucked out any enthusiasm from me. So, yeah. Anyway, let's move on to this next matchup. The 11-4 Dallas Cowboys. No, that can't be right. Are they 12-4? They've got to be 12.
Yeah, they will be 12-4, I think. Yeah.
The 12-4 Dallas Cowboys traveling to Washington to take on the 7-8-1 Washington Commanders. This game has a 40.5 point total, where the Washington Commanders are 7-point home underdogs in this one. In terms of whether there's possible rain in this game, in terms of injuries, for Dallas, they're mostly okay. For Washington, Antonio Gibson added to the injured reserve with a foot injury. Running back Brian Robinson out of this game with what I believe is also a foot injury. Washington has a couple of guys out on the offensive and defensive line. Cornerback Benjamin St. Juste is also out. So looks like Jonathan Williams will be getting the start at running back for the Washington Commanders, as will rookie quarterback Sam Howell, getting his first career start and his first NFL regular season action, as the Washington Commanders will not be starting Carson Wentz or Taylor Heineke. So, Greg, that being said, I kick it to you. What do you got?
I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take Washington to cover, but I'm going to take Dallas to win. On the Dallas side, Dak Prescott, he's a low-end QB1. Definitely been playing pretty consistent over the last, since he's been back, really. Getting, over close to that 250-yard mark, a couple touchdowns, so he's right around there. The running backs, you're always playing them as well. I think they're strong RB2s with some RB1 upside in this one. Tony Pollard and Zeke. CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver 1. Michael Gallup, wide receiver 3. Dalton Schultz, tight end 1 for sure. On the Commander side, I'm really only kind of looking at the receivers. I mean, Terry McLaurin does have a good matchup here. Don't really know what Sam Howell could do, but rookie quarterback might not have a scout report on him, so he could possibly try to pop off, but I'm not touching that. I think I'm only really looking at Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson maybe as wide receiver threes in this one.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. I'm gonna take the over here. I'm gonna take the Dallas. I'm gonna take Dallas Cowboys to cover. I'm gonna take Dallas to win. For the Dallas side, CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver one, Pollard and Zeke, RB2s or RB1 upside. Dalton Schultz, a tight end one option. I didn't. Yeah, Dak you can play, but he's been so up and down, and like unless the matchup is glaringly like positive and the game script is good, I don't really see a need to force him into my lineup. But on the Washington side, Jonathan Williams, I think hey, we're going back to the Jonathan Williams well. I mean, what we went to this well like 2-3 years ago when Marlon Mack got hurt and we had to start somebody on Thursday Night Football. So Jonathan Williams, I think, has some RB2 upside. He's going to get a backfield to himself. Should get a decent amount of volume here. To be able to get an RB2 finish. Terry McLaurin, I think I agree with you, right? It's tough because you're getting a rookie quarterback, so you don't really know what you're going to get. Sam Howell, he's going to come in. He's going to run around. He's going to try to make plays. He's going to play with some moxie. Terry McLaurin, I'm probably going to have him down as a wide receiver 2. Jahan Dotson, a wide receiver 3. I think the way I was looking at it is my expectation would be that he won't be as, and it's crazy to say, he won't be as like the highs and the positives probably won't be as good as what Taylor Heineke was bringing, but the lows won't be as low as what Carson Wentz was bringing. Probably
Yeah.
somewhere in the middle. Which is so Terry wide receiver 2, Dotson a wide receiver 3. You could play Howell if you want to try to get away with it. They ran him in the preseason, and when I say play him, you could play him in like DFS. They tried to they ran him in the preseason, especially around the goal line. That's what he did when he was at the University of North Carolina as well. So I think there's some intrigue there. But if you're in a dynasty league, just scoop him up if he's not already on the roster. Anything else you want to add to this game, Greg?
Nah.
All right, let's do it. Sunday Night Football. The 8-8 Detroit Lions traveling to Green Bay to take on the 8-8 Green Bay Packers. This game has a 49.5 point total where the Packers are 4.5 point favorites at home. In terms of weather, it's going to be cold. Frozen tundra game. In terms of injuries, Detroit's okay. In terms of injuries for Green Bay, Aaron Jones, he's limited, dealing with a knee and an ankle. Christian Watson, he's limited, dealing with a hip. In terms of the game here, so this is interesting because, like we talked about, Detroit could find out if they're eliminated before their game even kicks off. So then you would ask, what's their motivation to play if they're eliminated? And I would answer, have you seen Dan Campbell?
Yeah, Dan Campbell, man. Dan Campbell not gonna let this team take one day off. Nah, yo. He's like the Tom Tibbs of football, and he's like, nah, they playing every minute.
The other aspect of it though that I don't think it's like a win-win situation here for Detroit, right? Like if Seattle loses and they win, they're in the playoffs. If Seattle wins and they win, they knock their division rivals, the Green Bay Packers, out of the playoffs. And I don't know what kind of eliminated playoff team you would be, Greg, but I don't want anybody going. If I can't go, you can't go. So,
right.
So I'm whoever I'm playing getting eliminated. Anyway, so that being said, play all your Detroit pieces with no fear. Just go all in. As long as the matchup is enticing. But I'm going to take the over here. I'm going to take Detroit to cover. I will take Green Bay to win. I actually kind of want Seattle to lose so that like we could watch like
Yeah,
a
for sure,
legit playoff game on Sunday Night Football.
for sure.
Um, but yeah, I for Detroit, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's a high end wide receiver too. Again, plays in the slot. Jair Alexander is not going to follow in there, so I don't think you have much concern there. Jared Goff, he's in a tough spot, but I think he's a QB2 for me this week. I mean, Green Bay's their defense has been much improved. They've been much better, not just against the run, but also against the pass as well. DeAndre Swift, I have him down as an RB3. I think this is probably the game and the game script for him, trying to keep up with Green Bay, 49.5 point total. Um, going to be used in the passing game, I would imagine. Jamal Williams, he's a touchdown dependent RB3 for me. DJ Shark, I think, has some wide receiver 3 value this week. On the Green Bay side, Aaron Rodgers, I think he's a QB1. Aaron Jones, a high end RB2. AJ Dillon, an RB3, RB4 with some touchdown upside. And then Christian Watson, I think he's the wide receiver I would look to target, and he's a wide receiver 2 for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over as well. Detroit to cover and Green Bay to win. On the Detroit side, Goff I think is low end QB1, high QB2. Swift is a strong RB2. Jamal Williams as well, I think, is in that low end RB2 category. Um, the receivers, Amon-Ra St. Brown, of course, you're playing him as a wide receiver 1. DJ Shark, high wide receiver 3-4 range. But on the Green Bay side, Aaron Rodgers in the smash spot here. Aaron Jones, you're playing as a RB1. AJ Dillon, I think you can also play as a low end RB2. And the receivers, both Christian Watson and Allen Lazard, are in good spots here. Watson, I think, is the one to favor, though, for sure.
Most definitely. All right, now it's time to get to the money time. Starts of the week. Greg, for the last time in the 2022-2023 NFL season, I need your quarterback start of the week.
Yes, sir, man. Kirk Cousins is going to get it done against the Bears. Excellent matchup here. A game Minnesota needs to win as well. They want to win. They want to get better seeding as well. Try to get that. They're going to play all their pieces. Kirk Cousins is going against a very weak secondary in Chicago. I think what he does best is bounce back from bad performances, and what he did last week was pretty bad. So I think he comes back here, gets over 250, gets multiple touchdowns, gets you a win.
Yeah, I like this. Definitely like it a lot. Again, you want to look to teams that are playing for something. I don't know if not sure if Minnesota actually can change their seating from what I was reading, because I actually almost went with Kirk Cousins as my start of the week. But I don't know if they can change much in terms of way of seating. But I haven't gotten any inclination that they don't intend to play their starters. I mean, Minnesota is one of those teams that
They need the rhythm.
they need
They
the
need some
rhythm. They
rhythm. Yeah.
can't they can't
Yeah.
take a week off.
Yeah,
So,
man.
um, for me, I'm going to go to the Sunday Night Football game and your quarterback start of the week the last 2 weeks, Greg. I'm going with Aaron Rodgers. Again, going after these teams that need to win this week. And in the NFC North, there is not a team that controls their own playoff destiny more than the Green Bay Packers. The matchup here is good against Detroit, who ranks ninth in terms of fantasy points allowed over the last 3 weeks to the quarterback position. He's at home. Rodgers will be. And it's Sunday Night Football, man. He gets turned for those games. So he's a locked-in QB1 for me this week.
Yeah, for sure.
Greg, what do you got at running back start of the week?
Going with Najee Harris, going against Cleveland. I think he coming up with by best game of the year, high in carries, season high, or second high, season high, 22, 111 yards. That's the season high as well. But he's going against the Browns. Solid matchup. A team, Steelers are going to play their starters. They're playing for pride. They're playing for another great winning season for Mike Tomlin through all odds again. So Najee Harris, I think, is going to get it done, get you close to 20 carries and get to that 100-yard mark.
Not just a winning season, they're playing for a playoff berth.
Crazy.
If they win and the Patriots lose and the Dolphins lose, the Steelers are in the playoffs, which
Crazy.
as a Jets fan, I know there's a lot of talk like, oh, do you lose to Miami and let New England in, or do you beat or no, do you lose to Miami and let Miami in, or do you beat Miami and let New England in? And I'm like, why can't we get Steelers to beat Cleveland? We beat Miami, and then Buffalo loses to, or Buffalo beats New England, and that way, no New England, no Miami, and see, Mike Tomlin, go get that win in the season. Make your way to the playoffs. I like it, Greg. I'm going with Kenneth Walker the third. Ken Walker. Seattle may not control their own playoff destiny here, but they do need a win in this game to have a chance. So I expect them to lean on their workhorse running back, who again has a fantastic matchup. The Los Angeles Rams allow the third most PPR points to the running back position over their last 3 games. Ride K9 to the chip, man.
Yes, sir.
Greg, wide receiver start of the week, man. What do you got?
I'm gonna go Chris Olave going against Carolina. Carolina, if they do have a weak spot in their defense, it's that secondary, especially with their injuries. I think Chris Olave, coming back a little more healthy. I think he can get to what he was showing in the early season. Getting close to 10 plus carries a game. But I think he's gonna be used highly in this game. And a team that Saints gonna play all their starters, try to put their best foot forward against Carolina. They don't want a divisional matchup. Don't want to go out with a loss.
Yeah, definitely don't want to go out with a loss there. I like the matchup here, man. I like Andy Dalton as well. I can't I don't want to advertise that because it seems like a weird thing to try to advertise ahead of week 18. But I do like Andy Dalton in this matchup, so therefore I like Chris Olave as well. For me, my wide receiver start of the week, staying in the rookie class. No, it's not going to be Garrett Wilson. It will be Drake London against Tampa Bay. This is for those that need to look under every rock for some fantasy production. And I like London this week, man. He's a high end wide receiver 2 flex option. Over his last 4 games, he has a 38% target share, which we know isn't the volume that it is in other offenses, but the matchup here is nice. Tampa Bay allows the 5th most PPR points to the wide receiver position over their last 3 games. And Tampa Bay also might be sitting key starters in this game. So you can get an opportunity here to get Drake London with a 38% target share playing against potentially some backups. Let him give you a boost this week in your flex spot or as a wide receiver too.
Yeah, man. Rookie receivers for the win this week.
Yes, sir. Greg, what do you got in terms of your tight end start of the week this week?
Gotta go Dallas Goedert going against the Giants. You know that Philly's gonna start off playing their starters, and Giants, their weak spot of their defense, good defense all year is that tight end position. Been giving up the tight ends all year. TJ Hawkinson lit them up a couple weeks ago. I think Dallas Goedert is gonna do the same here. And get back on a groove. I mean, the last 3 games he's been kind of average, below average as far as his performances. What he was doing early in the season when he was healthy. I think he gets back to what he is, a high and tight end one.
Most definitely. I like that. You talking about the Giants being bad matchups for the tight end. I'm going to go to a former Giant who's having a career season here. Evan Ingram going up against Tennessee. And that's right. I'm going back to the Tennessee well after going there last week with Dalton Schultz. But last time Ingram played against the Tennessee Titans, Greg, week 14, a man had 39.
Oh, when he looked like Travis Kelce out there?
Yeah, pretty much. 11 for 162 and 39 PPR points. He was not the top tight end. He was the top scorer on the week in week 14. Just last week, the Tennessee Titans allowed almost 25 PPR points to Dalton Schultz. In a must-win game here, again, the matchup still good. Tennessee, crazy because I look at 3-week segments. So you actually take out Evan Ingram's 39-point game. Tennessee drops from the second best matchup to the 7th best matchup. So they're still a top 10 matchup. Just don't look as good as they did a couple weeks ago. But Evan Ingram's coming back. Expect the average to go back up here. Again, must-win game. I think Evan Ingram's a top 4 option at the tight end position this week.
Yeah, man. Knew this was gonna happen. The moment he got went to another team from the Giants, you knew he was going to go off.
All right. Well, now it's time for the final time this season in what is the rubber match. We got to play some Get Money.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, everyone that knows, Get Money, or everyone that doesn't know, is a head-to-head FanDuel contest between Greg and myself. It's a snake-style draft where once a player is selected, they are removed from the player pool. Greg gets the first pick in odd weeks. I get the first pick in even weeks. And yeah, now it's time to roll. So I get the first pick here. I'll be honest, I did not do any prep for this like I normally would, where I would have had my skeleton lineup already made.
That's the best type of lineups. Those are the best type of lineups.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm gonna start with man, this is tough. This is tough. I'm gonna stay at quarterback. I'm gonna go quarterback first. Just give me Josh Allen, 8,800.
Love it. Love it. I'm gonna take Justin Jefferson, 9,000 wide receiver spot. So maybe he can try to get close to that record at least.
Yeah, that's a good one. Oh man, this is tough. At running back, I'm gonna go Dalvin Cook, 8,000.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, go hard or go home. I'm gonna go Austin Eckler at running back too, 9,400. Spending the change here.
I don't want to spend all my money right away, so I'm trying to see if I can all right. At my second running back, I'm gonna go Kenneth Walker the third, 7,700. My running back start of the week.
Word. My second running back, give me Zach Moss, 6,800 going against Houston.
For my first wide receiver, give me Drake London, my wide receiver start of the week.
For my second running back, I'm gonna take Rashid Shaheed, 5,800.
Your second wide receiver.
Second wide receiver, yeah.
Give me Stephon Diggs, 8,400. A wide
Love the
receiver.
stack. At my third wide receiver, I'm gonna take Terry McLaurin at 7,000 going against Dallas.
I like that. I like that. Man. As my third wide receiver, give me Greg Dortch, 5,400.
At the tight end position, I'm gonna take Tyler Conklin, 5,100 going against Miami.
In my flex, give me Jonathan Williams, running back, Washington, 5,000.
At my flex, I'm gonna do tight end again. I'm gonna go Tyler Higbee, 5,600 going against Seattle.
At My defense, I'm going to go with, I can't believe I'm going to do this. I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos 3,600.
Defense, I'm gonna go take your advice. Give me Miami Dolphins 3,500.
At tight end, this is my final pick, I believe. At tight end, I'm going with Dalton Schultz, 5,500.
And a quarterback
6,500. 6,500. Sorry.
Word. Quarterback Kirk Cousins. Give me the stack 7,700. Quarterback start of the week.
Yeah, this was interesting because I wanted to go Justin Jefferson, but I felt like I wanted to lock up either Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts. So yeah, I sacrificed Justin Jefferson for that there. But reading off my roster here at quarterback, Josh Allen 8,800 going up against New England. Dalvin Cook 8,000 going up against Chicago. Kenneth Walker 7,700 going up against Los Angeles. Stephon Diggs 8,400 going up against New England. Drake London, my wide receiver start of the week, 6,500 going up against Tampa Bay. Greg Dortch 5,400 going up against San Francisco. Dalton Schultz 6,500 going up against Washington. Jonathan Williams 5,000 going up against Dallas, and then the Denver Broncos defense 3,600 going up against the LA Chargers.
For me, I have Kirk Cousins 7,700 going against Chicago. Zach Moss 6,800. Austin Eckler 9,400 going against Denver. Justin Jefferson 9,000. Rashid Shaheed 5,800 the wide receiver 2 spot. Terry McLaurin 7,000 going against Dallas. Tyler Conklin 5,100 tight end spot. Another tight end, Tyler Higbee at my flex position 5,600, and the Miami Dolphins defense 3,500.
Oh man, this is for all the marbles here.
Yes, sir.
This is for all of them. There's no more rubber. There's no more next week or this week or this is it.
Yep.
Gotta win it. So that being said, y'all, this is the last time we'll do this year, this season. So again, we appreciate y'all. Next time you'll hear from us, these next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll do the accountability show. So we'll talk about our misses. And I don't know, man. I'm going through them. I feel like there's a bunch I got. But I don't know. I'll go back through some old show sheets, take a look, see what I have in terms of hits and what I have in terms of misses. I'm sure Greg will do the same. And we'll come back on here. We'll discuss the misses first, and then the week after we'll discuss the hits. So beat a little bit before we speak. But good luck in your fantasy matchups. Enjoy the fantasy playoffs, but enjoy the NFL playoffs. Those are always fun. But anyways, y'all have a good one. Have some fun playing DFS. We'll talk to you later, and we're out. Peace.
We out.